Saba.
Where is he?
Conference officer in the back.
Over there?
Yeah, yeah. Hi. You got to speak to Saba, the conference officer in the back. Thanks. Saba. She's in the corner. Look, you have a Windows computer? I'm Joe. 212.
Can we take our seats, please? Can we take our seats, please?
You are running the show.
Dear colleagues, allow me to start the meeting by welcoming His Excellency the Secretary-General, who has always been here for us, for UNRWA, in every meeting that we've had over the past 6-7 years. And allow me also to welcome dear Annalena, the new President of the General Assembly. Dear colleagues, I do not have to make the case for UNRWA. The starving children of Gaza so painfully make that case. The mothers who are watching their infants fade before their eyes make the case for UNRWA. The 600,000 or more students in Gaza who have not gone to school for 2 years make the case for UNRWA. Hundreds of thousands who depend on UNRWA for the little food that they get, for the little subsidies on which they survive, make the case for UNRWA. People of the West Bank, children who have no hope, make the case for UNRWA. The thousands and thousands and thousands of Palestinian children who built their lives through the support that UNRWA provided, through the schools that UNRWA has built, who've become doctors, lawyers, craftsmen and women, make the case for UNRWA. So it is unbelievable that we're sitting here and discussing how do we save UNRWA, because UNRWA is collapsing. A political assassination campaign is being launched against UNRWA long before October 7, because UNRWA represents the right of the Palestinian refugees, because UNRWA represents hope for the Palestinian refugees. And UNRWA is being financially suffocated as well, because not funds are coming. By the end of this month, if UNRWA does not get the funds it needs to feed Palestinian children, to rebuild the schools that have been destroyed, UNRWA will not be able to continue to operate. My dear colleagues, the catastrophe in Gaza is continuing. The genocide is continuing. The numbers of Palestinian children who are dying every day, not by bullets, even though they are, but by not having food. That is a reality which we have to change. And the guns will go silent at some point, because it is incomprehensible that one member state of the United Nations continues to violate its laws, its charter, our shared human values, continues to commit massacres against civilians, and the world does nothing. At some point, the world will have to move, and the world will have to say enough, and will have to stop the war, and will have to stop the violations, and will have to stop the killing of children, women, and men. And when that happens, we need UNRWA. Nobody can do the job that UNRWA can do in Gaza, because it has been there when others were not, because it knows every alley, every street, every home, every school, every clinic, every family that needs support. We need UNRWA. So let's all of us have voted for the continuation of UNRWA's mandate. Let's translate that political support into practical events, into practical action that can allow UNRWA to continue with its noble work. Let's bridge the financial gap that UNRWA is suffering from so that it can do its job. And let's speak unequivocally that we have to save UNRWA, because by saving UNRWA, we're saving a little bit of what has left of the credibility of our multilateral system and our commitment to international law and international humanitarian law. This is the case for UNRWA, and I do hope that by the end of the day today, we will have taken real measures to make sure that UNRWA continues to operate. UNRWA that has made the ultimate sacrifice. Hundreds of its staff have been killed, and yet they bury their dead, and then they move to give a piece of bread to those who need it, a pill to those who are in pain. That is what UNRWA is. I thank you all for being here. I thank my co-organizers, Spain, Brazil. Again, grateful for the Secretary-General for being here. And allow me to give the floor to my co-sponsor, Jose. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ayman, dear Secretary-General, and Elena, and of course the co-chair, the other co-chair, my good friend, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brazil, Mauro. It's an honor to co-host this high-level meeting with Jordan and Brazil on the margin of this 8th session of the General Assembly. This is a very particular year. And this meeting is key as the escalation of violence in the region requires immediate action from all of us. I want to express all my gratitude to Commissioner General Lazzarini for his work at the head of UNRWA. It has never been easy to be heading UNRWA, but it has never been as difficult as it is today. And he and his whole staff deserve all our appreciation and also our condolences for the 322 UNRWA employees who have lost their lives while performing vital duties for the survival of millions of Palestinians. UNRWA, we must keep insisting on it. It is an indispensable player in the Middle East, for Palestine, for the Palestinian people. Its life-saving assistance to Palestine refugees has direct effect. First of all, of course, in their life. Once again, it's a matter of survival. Feeding people, giving education to children, very basic things that every human being must have an access. But it also has a direct impact in the preservation of stability in Palestine, in the neighboring countries, and of course, it's an essential part of the future state of Palestine. If we don't want to see UNRWA, then what we have to do is to create a state of Palestine that will take care of the education and the feeding of their own people. While that's not possible because some people are trying to prevent it, we must continue supporting UNRWA. What UNRWA does goes well beyond Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. Those are countries that can easily confirm the very important role. We hope that the UNRWA's mandate will be renewed, and above all, that there will be enough funding to fulfill its development. We all realize the very complicated financial situation that UNRWA is facing. Spain is scaling up its finance to both the Palestinian National Authority and to UNRWA. And I really encourage and urge everyone that believes in the two-state solution, that believes in a future of peace between Israel and Palestine, to increase the finance for both UNRWA and the Palestinian National Authority, to allow a future for the Palestinian people. UNRWA has a general mandate to provide assistance to the Palestinian refugees, but the present circumstances of work, especially in Gaza for almost 2 years, have imposed on the agency an extra role, an extra burden of humanitarian coordination, without which none of the other actors could have carried out their work so far. And that's why, since the very first day after 7th of October, after the brutal terrorist attack of Hamas, and the Israeli response in Gaza went underway, Spain identified the risks to the innocent civilian population in Gaza and UNRWA as the key actor to address the needs arising. We have been supporting, as I was saying, the agency since then, politically, financially, being the presidency of the Advisory Commission until last June, and of course, we will maintain our support more than ever. And in the light of the catastrophic situation on the ground, beginning of September, Spain decided to reinforce its action, announcing a national package to stop the war, urge the respect of international law, and to protect the two-state solution and to support the Palestinian Authority and reinforce our humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. And within this package, of course, there is an increase of our financing to UNRWA. We are very much aware that UNRWA budget has never been adequate for the huge task, always increasing, that faces. But now the needs are immense, and we need to stand by the agency to provide the financial support that it requires to operate. That's why we are going to add 10 extra million euros to the 13.5 million that we have already disbursed this year. And that means that since October the 7th, Spain has handed out near 60 million euros to UNRWA, plus 10 million euros additional that have been announced already in September. Colleagues, the dire situation in Gaza, in the West Bank and the whole region presses the agency more than ever to fulfill its duties according to its mandate and attend the needs of millions of Palestinian refugees. We are talking about basic things like food, shelter, water, sanitation. They are critical, as it's critical education, especially for 600,000 traumatized children that need a safe space, like all our children, in which to learn that there is a real possibility of a different future for them, a future in peace, a future of two states, the state of Palestine and the state of Israel living side by side in peace and security. We also believe that UNRWA has a critical role to play in the day after, when the Palestinian Authority, that is our partner for peace, will need massive international support to restore basic services and security throughout the Palestinian territory. And we are convinced that UNRWA has a key contribution to making capacity and institutional building for the future Palestinian state that most of the international community want. And at the same time, we support all efforts to ensure full transparency and accountability, and we see that UNRWA is always ready to do it and to meet those criteria. The report, the Colonna report, did not find any base for the allegation against the agency. Furthermore, during the Spanish presidency of the ADCOM, we made progress in implementation the recommendation of the Colonna report to ensure that the agency has a robust mechanism to uphold the principle of neutrality and integrity. The United Nations and multilateralism is at the very core of our principles and values. It's being challenged, and we need to be clear in its defense, more than anything in the defense of UNRWA. I urgently call today all of you to allow UN agencies and international NGOs to fully operate, especially UNRWA. The role remains essential and irreplaceable, and we must support it, and we must reject anyone that try to hinder us and to put obstacles to their work. UNRWA remains under an unacceptable siege. The laws passed by Israel's parliament last October aim to curtail its international cover and the protected international status of its workers. while its headquarters in Jerusalem are being targeted with the final result of eviction and expulsion from the city. We cannot allow it. Dear colleagues, I would like to have a final word of appreciation once again for Commissioner General Lazzarini and his tireless effort to maintain UNRWA afloat and engage with the international community.
Thank you, Jose. And may I now give the floor to my other co-sponsor, Foreign Minister of Brazil, Maura. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Antonio Guterres, Secretary-General, Madam PGA, dear friend Annalena Baerbock, and dear co-chairs, Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Jordan and Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to reach the 2-year anniversary of military operations that have caused an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. We continue to witness with dismay systematic violations of international humanitarian law, with a devastating toll of human lives, including 360 UNRWA staff, the obliteration of civil infrastructure, and the mass forced displacement of Palestinians. Brazil has sought to respond with concrete acts of solidarity. Over the past 5 years, we have provided humanitarian donations, including vaccines, medical kits, food, water purifiers, and support to hospitals, though some items, such as 150 water purifiers, were arbitrarily blocked by Israel. In 2025, we also delivered 100,000 doses of the polio vaccine, together with India and South Africa, through the IBSA Fund. We rebuilt hospitals in Gaza and supported community projects in Ramallah, many of which have since been destroyed or repurposed as shelters for refugees. The systematic violence against Palestinians in Gaza, including against a high proportion of women and children, provides troubling evidence that point to the commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including genocide and ethnic cleansing. That's what Brazil upheld in its intervention in the case brought to the International Court of Justice by South Africa under the Genocide Convention. At the same time, UNRWA, a cornerstone of support for Palestine refugees in the West Bank, Gaza, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, is contending with efforts that undermine its mandate and operations, striking at the core of international law, multilateralism, and other collective responsibilities to protect civilians. Legal restrictions on UNRWA operation and the closure of UNRWA offices and facilities in East Jerusalem are part of a troubling pattern of obstruction and violence carried out by the Israeli government. These actions deprive tens of thousands of people of access to education, health care, social assistance, and basic protection. Equally concerning are attempts to delegitimize UNRWA through disinformation campaigns, defamation, legal harassment, initiatives aimed at replacing the agency for other humanitarian actors in Gaza with mechanisms that militarize aid distribution. Brazil categorically rejects such approaches. All restrictions on humanitarian aid must be immediately lifted, while UNRWA and other UN agencies must be allowed to operate without any hindrance. Until a just solution to the plight of Palestine refugees is implemented, UNRWA will remain indispensable and irreplaceable. Adequate and predictable funding is essential for it to plan and deliver its services, and must be matched with strong political backing that protects its operational space and the legitimacy of its staff and mandate. In this context, Brazil calls upon all partners to engage seriously in discussions about the financial situation of the agency. We must work collectively towards a model that ensures adequate and predictable funding so that UNRWA can plan and deliver its services without the constant threat of collapse. Brazil also firmly supports the renewal of UNRWA's mandate. The status of Palestine refugees is a political and legal question rooted in decades of unresolved conflict and prolonged occupation. Any discussion on changes to the agency's mandate must be preceded by a just and permanent solution based on the implementation of the two-state solution with an independent and viable state of Palestine living side by side with Israel in peace and security within the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. As of July 1st, Brazil assumed the chairmanship of UNRWA's Advisory Commission. We are honored by the trust placed in us and will work constructively with all partners, host and donor countries, as well as with UNRWA's leadership, to pursue collective and sustainable solutions to the financial and political crisis faced by the agency. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And now I'm honored to give the floor to His Excellency, the Secretary-General of the United Nations. Sir.
Excellencies, I thank Brazil, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and Spain for co-chairing these gatherings. And I thank all of you for your support for UNRWA. Generations of Palestine refugees have counted on UNRWA for education, health care, and other essential services. Before October 2023, it provided schooling for 500,000 girls and boys across the region. Today, it delivers emergency food and cash assistance for 2.6 million people. Its primary clinics handle 10.5 million visits per year. But UNRWA's full impact goes far deeper. UNRWA is a force for stability in the most unstable region of the world. Its operational presence contributes to the Palestinian Authority's governance in the West Bank, to Lebanon's efforts to fulfill requirements for a ceasefire in refugee camps, to Syria's efforts to navigate a path to lasting peace, and to Jordan's role in building regional stability. UNRWA's mandate and operations are integral to a large majority of the actions outlined in the New York Declaration endorsed by the General Assembly earlier this month. Despite all of these, UNRWA is being forced to operate under extreme and rising pressure. In Gaza, our staff are being killed, our premises destroyed. And everywhere, UNRWA faces budget shortfalls and a fire hose of disinformation. Earlier this year, I commissioned a strategic assessment of the impact and exercise of UNRWA's mandate under current circumstances. The report, shared with the General Assembly in July, reached 3 core conclusions. First, UNRWA has made invaluable contributions to development, human rights, humanitarian action, and peace and security, including for Israel. Second, UNRWA is under such severe constraints that the status quo is untenable. Third, member states must take immediate action. The conditions under which the agency works are deteriorating every day. Excellencies, UNRWA is vital to any prospects for peace and stability in the region. I urge you to do all you can to support its work. How? First, by standing in solidarity, by providing political support, by countering the distortions that threaten one of the only lifelines many Palestine refugees have left. And second, by ensuring that UNRWA has the resources to carry out its mandate. It must be funded urgently, fully, and predictability. UNRWA was always meant to be a humanitarian stopgap until a political solution could be found. This General Assembly began this week on a strong note with unprecedented global support for a two-state solution. But we know the realities on the ground are bleaker than ever. We will not relent in working for peace. But until a political solution is achieved, UNRWA remains crucial in helping us steer towards achieving the best possible outcome and avoiding the worst. Finally, allow me to say a special word about our UNRWA staff in Gaza. I cannot begin to express the depths of my admiration, respect and gratitude. More than 370 of our dear colleagues have been killed. Every single one has endured unimaginable loss. Homes and communities destroyed, entire families wiped from existence. Yet somehow, in the face of this relentless horror, they persevere. They keep going, often without sleep, often without food, driven by a profound sense of duty and compassion. They keep serving the people of Gaza with courage and selflessness that inspires the world. We will never forget their heroism. Excellencies, I appeal to you today to provide the funding and political support UNRWA needs to help build peace and stability for Palestinians, for Israel, and for the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary-General. And now the Secretary-General will have to leave us as he has. You listen to, okay, then we'll have a change program. Now we'll listen to Annalena Baerbock, the President of the General Assembly. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear foreign ministers of Jordan, Spain and Brazil, dear friends, good to see you again, Secretary-General, dear Commissioner General, Excellencies. Food, shelter, education, healthcare. As we have heard and as we all know, for 76 years, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, has been a lifeline for millions. But as we also know, while the entire UN system is under strain, few agencies have been scrutinized as intensively as UNRWA. And what many of the critiques have totally forgotten, that UNRWA, as my colleagues have said, is doing way, way more than just on what the focus is so rightly right on now. Before the war in Gaza, UNRWA was operating 183 schools, educating 300,000 children. In the West Bank, UNRWA provided services to more than 912,000 registered refugees. In Jordan, and I visited different sites there, UNRWA's 25 health centers provides 1.6 million consultations annually. In Lebanon, UNRWA is the sole basic service provider in 12 official refugee camps. And in Syria, where it operates 104 schools, UNRWA was able to sustain access to education for the vast majority of students, despite damage to 40% of schools from the conflict in Syria over years. But like the UN itself, UNRWA is under massive financial, political and operational pressure. As of June 2025, UNRWA had no reserves and faced a funding shortfall of about $200 million. The agency is not only being stretched to the last dollar, but also confronted with mounting obstructions. Israeli authorities banned the agency from operating in East Jerusalem, ordered UNRWA to vacate premises, and closed several UNRWA schools, making also the situation in Israel itself, and especially in Jerusalem, more dangerous. As noted in the strategic assessment of UNRWA, commissioned by the Secretary-General, as he highlighted, under the UNAIDS initiative, UNRWA has played an indispensable role in promoting regional stability, protecting refugee rights, and sustaining community resilience. Yes, we also know this specialized agency is not only part of the UNAIDS reform process, but there were also the investigations by the UN's Office for International Oversight Services and the Colonna report, and I would like to underline it because I know the discussion from back then very well. It's a strength of an organization to reflect on critics and scrutinize their own work. And we will hear in a minute again, the implementation of the Colonna report is going on, and it underlines again why this institution is not only needed more than ever, but also that it's capable of doing the reform the whole UN is doing. And we also all know UNRWA was supposed to work only temporarily. but now it fulfills state-like obligations for decades. Stopping its work would jeopardize the futures of more than 500,000 children who learn in UNRWA's over 700 schools. To starve UNRWA of funds and to obstruct its operations is to invite further destabilization in Gaza, the West Bank, and beyond. And also, stopping UNRWA now would mean that the future to build future Palestinian institutions would become less likely, like the Foreign Minister of Jordan has said. Therefore, it was so important that in the resolution adopted last December, the vast majority of the General Assembly has reaffirmed the importance of its impeded operation and provisions of services for the well-being, protection and human development of Palestinian refugees and for the stability of the region in whole. In the New York Declaration, which was just endorsed 2 weeks ago by 142 member states, they also underlined the indispensable role of UNRWA. They expressed their commitments to continue supporting it, including through the appropriate funding, and the agency to encourage it to implement its mandates and implement the recommendation of the Kelowna report. We all know the situation in Gaza is just beyond words, as the Foreign Minister of Jordan underlined. I would also underline again what the Secretary-General has said. 360 UNRWA personnel gave their life to protect others. They are suffering what Palestinian people are suffering. We know all the stories about the doctor treating children and then having to realize that her own boy was been transported to the hospitals. Since the collapse of the ceasefire on March 18, 2025, more than 1 million people have been displaced again in the Gaza Strip. We know the tragedy about the 18,000 children at least. And we know the tragedy, and if we would imagine these were our children wandering around in the rubble of their destroyed homes without their parents searching for food, we would do everything to save them. So I would like to underline the call on all member states to do everything what we can do to fund UNRWA. It is good that member states came back for the funding. It was good that new member states came to the funds who didn't contribute it before. But we know also the numbers, and we're looking at the numbers. So all those who came back and all those who joined should commit now also for the upcoming.
And impunity. A famine which is the result of replacing a principled humanitarian operation with mercenaries who weaponize food assistance. A looming military occupation in Gaza, emboldened settlers and creeping annexation in the occupied West Bank, and a multilateral system in peril. History will forever ask our predecessors why they failed to prevent the genocides perpetrated under their watch. With the warnings issued by the International Court of Justice last year, and the publication of the Commission of Inquiry report last week, this question must now be asked of us. Against overwhelming odds, UNRWA continues to stand by Palestinians, providing life-saving humanitarian assistance, engaging the minds of traumatized children through learning and play, preserving family records and collective identity, and bearing witness to countless violations and indignities. For enabling Palestinians to remain in the occupied territory and build the best possible lives under a brutal occupation, we have been attacked relentlessly in flagrant violation of United Nations privilege and immunities. The attacks seek to dismantle the agency, to end the refugee status of Palestinians, has targeted lawmakers in donor countries to tarnish the agency's reputation and to strangle both political support
and funding for its vital work. Similar campaigns are now being deployed to silence other UN entities, international NGOs and public officials to justify assassinating journalists and to deny the reality of famine and other international crimes. Excellencies, the reputational attack on UNRWA has worsened an already grim financial situation. The loss of two major donors, including the agency's largest contributor, has sparked a severe deficit and cash flow crisis, jeopardizing the viability of UNRWA's operation across programs and fields. The steady implementation of austerity and cost control measures amounting to $150 million in 2025, together with strict cash flow management, has allowed the agency to pay staff salary until now. However, the shortfall, and we heard this, between the last quarter of this year and the first quarter of next year exceed $200 million. And unlike in previous years, the projected income in the first quarter of 2026 is far too low to absorb any deficit. So, in the absence of a significant influx of new funding, the delivery of critical services to millions of Palestinian refugees across the region will be compromised before the end of the year. Excellencies, the war in Gaza is reshaping the multilateral system in profound ways. Defending international law and the rules-based order is an active choice that each member state must take. I urge you, and we have to start with this, to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, I know we do, and the unconditional release of hostages. But I also urge you to push back against the weaponization of humanitarian assistance and insist on the unrestricted deployment of the United Nations humanitarian operation, including UNRWA's expertise and unparalleled aid distribution network. This is the only way to reverse famine, stabilize a volatile situation, and then support the implementation of the New York Declaration. I also implore you to safeguard UNRWA's mandate within a time-bound political process and to finance the provision of essential services until such process is completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe, and dear colleagues. I was just given some logistical orders that we will have to leave this room in probably 30-35 minutes. Thank God there's a lot of attendance here, and I have a very long list of speakers. So to accommodate everybody, I would strongly urge you to keep your introductions as short as possible so that we can have everybody speak at this extremely important meeting. Thank you so much. If we can do a minute and a half, 2 minutes maximum, that'll be great. And now I give the floor to my co-host, Jose, who will moderate this part of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be a little bit tougher than Diamond. I've been told that your intervention should be limited to 1 minute so everyone can intervene. So we will start with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia.
Thank you so much. First, I really like to express my gratitude to Philippe, Lazzarini and his team for an amazing work that they are doing on the ground, and also I express my solidarity for the loss of all humanitarian workers. We are firmly committed to supporting UNRWA's work, so needless to say that the agency plays an indispensable role. We have consistently demonstrated political support
for UNRWA, and we fully support also renewal of UNRWA's mandate. In recent years, we have complemented this political backing with strengthened financial contributions, and most recently at the beginning of September, on the margins of Bled Strategic Forum, Slovenia signed also a new multi-year agreement with UNRWA, and this agreement provides predictable and fully flexible funding, reaffirming our trust in the agency mandate and our commitment to principled humanitarian action and our conviction that UNRWA remains vital in responding to the current crisis. And I just wish to say, during the week, sitting in a Security Council, we have to put all our efforts together as international community to end this bloody war in Gaza and suffering of the civilians. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Luxembourg.
Some people said that if you're in favor of a two-state solution, you're in favor of Palestine, you have to support UNRWA. If you just have a bit of humanity, you support UNRWA. When you go there, you see that there is no health, no education, no food, nothing in Palestine without the UNRWA. UNRWA was not perfect. That's why also Colonna's report has been done, and there are progresses every day. But without UNRWA, and you see these 400 spots they had to distribute, with these 4 now, that even people who just want to get food are dying, are killed, because they want to go there. So there is no alternative to UNRWA. I just want to say that for me, and Philippe, I went to Palestine when you were in the worst moment, when everybody decided, because we speak about the one coming and coming back and supported, not supported, coming back. There are some countries who never left you. And believe me, we had all the same pressure, all. Internally pressure and pressure from others that we should stop the support. I never did. I was criticized for that, but I don't care. And last thing is, I wanted to say thank you to you, and think also on the families of the people working for you who lost people working for you. And then I'm proud to announce that my country will do an additional, and I discovered that in dollar it's more than euro, so I would say it in dollar. So we will have now the budget total of 30,434,579 cents, with an additional 1,752,336, a lot but more. And so in dollars to support you, because we believe that the money invested in the UNRWA is the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Permanent Observer of the State of Palestine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Allow me at the beginning, to express our gratitude to Jordan, Brazil, and Spain for convening this important meeting at an existential moment for Palestine refugees and UNRWA. Many of the things that I want to say have been said by everyone, but let me just say UNRWA is indispensable. UNRWA is the brilliant, most successful story of multilateralism. UNRWA was existed since the creation of the Nakba, and it was created in order to have a just solution to the Palestine refugees. It has a mandate from the General Assembly by almost everyone. It will continue to exist. It is our obligation to help it in every possible way, politically and financially, and we will do everything within our power with all of you in order to make UNRWA to continue working until there is a just solution to the refugee question and a comprehensive solution to the Palestine question. Ceasefire is needed now. We need to save Gaza. We need to provide humanitarian assistance to our people, and UNRWA is the most capable agency of carrying that mandate and helping through the 400 distribution units and expertise and 11,000 cadres in the Gaza Strip. We are 1,000% with UNRWA, along with our brothers and sisters in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria. UNRWA will not vanish. UNRWA is intertwined with the question of Palestine, and it will continue to exist until we have a just comprehensive solution to the Palestinian question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Belgium.
Thank you. Thank you, President. I stand here today not only to reaffirm a commitment to the New York Declaration, but also to say clearly that Palestinian children and families deserve dignity, security, and hope. And Belgium's support to UNRWA is part of that commitment for decades. And UNRWA has been more than an institution, it has been a lifeline. And it is why UNRWA continues to be so indispensable, really a key actor to provide basic services to the population, food, healthcare, education. It's why we continue to think it is not acceptable to have so many Israeli leaders continuing to mention a structural link between UNRWA and Hamas. And you have mentioned it, Jose. It is something which has been mentioned by the Colonel report. No structural link between terrorism and UNRWA has been found. So we need to avoid to spread those kind of fake news and to fight against them. It is really important to continue to provide humanitarian access on a full, unconditional and immediate manner. Of course, Belgium will continue to stand ready, financially, politically and morally, to support UNRWA, to defend humanitarian access, and to work with all partners for a future where Palestinian children can finally grow up, not in fear, but in freedom. And let me also thank Philippe for his strong commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt.
Thank you so much, Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The growing international recognition of the State of Palestine marks a historic turning point. This recognition must not remain symbolic. It must be translated into action through the establishment of a free, independent and sovereign Palestinian state along the 4th of June 1967 lines with East Jerusalem as its capital. Recognition must also be accompanied by a strong and sustained support for UNRWA. The agency is indispensable in safeguarding the rights and dignity of the Palestinian refugees. Any attempt to undermine its mandate would inflict grave damage on the just cause of Palestine. Egypt reaffirms its unwavering support for UNRWA, condemns all Israeli efforts to erode its rule, and calls on the international community to guarantee the political and financial resources necessary for it to continue its mission. The conscience of humanity cannot accept what is unfolding in the Gaza Strip. The findings of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry confirmed the occurrence of genocide against civilians. This demands a decisive stand from the international community to end these violations, including the man-made famine in the Gaza Strip, the creation of uninhabitable environment designed to displace the Palestinian people and liquidate their cause, an outcome that can never be accepted. Egypt has acted steadfastly to alleviate the Palestinian suffering despite Israel's occupation and the closure of the crossing points, including the Rafah crossing from the Palestinian side and obstruction of aid. Egypt has ensured the continuous flow of humanitarian assistance, becoming the largest provider of aid to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Let me conclude by saying that at the same time, Egypt continues intensive efforts with the United States and Qatar to secure an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. Once a ceasefire is achieved, Egypt is will host the International Conference for Gaza Reconstruction and Early Recovery to implement the Arab Islamic Plan for the reconstruction. This plan is essential to enabling Palestinians to remain in their land under a unified and legitimate Palestinian Authority with one government, one rule of law, and exclusive control of arms. And we are counting always on UNRWA to play its role in Gaza, in the West Bank, and to protect the rights of Palestinians, refugees in the neighboring countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Remember to keep short to 1 minute your intervention. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Norway.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say a warm thank you to Philippe Lazzarini and through you to your entire staff for your tireless efforts. It's incredible that you keep it up. And also to once again express my deepest condolences to the families and colleagues of all those deceased in your staff. UNRWA is irreplaceable. There is today no alternative. And it is imperative that we keep funding the organization and strengthen our political support and our financial support for an organization that we set up, because and which has to be there as long as the problem remains unsolved. An adequate humanitarian distribution system must be restored in Gaza, and UNRWA must be able to continue in all the other places that it is present as long as the problem persists. And I think we should remind those who have been critical of the organization that if you want to get rid of UNRWA, you can help solve the Palestinian problem, because at that time the UNRWA will transform into other authorities. But until it exists, we need to remain predictable contributors to UNRWA. We will be that, and we will be very clear in saying that this is an integral part both of what is happening today, but also in the plans that we are developing in the Global Alliance to implement the two-state solution, where 142 member states so far supported the New York Declaration, which has a clear place for the role of UNRWA on the way ahead. So thank you for your efforts. Let's keep up our support. And Norway, you can continue to count on Norway as a consistent, predictable, and significant contributor.
Thank you. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lebanon.
Excellencies, for convening this important meeting in support of UNRWA. Excellencies, Lebanon expresses its deep concern over the ongoing campaign targeting UNRWA, a campaign that has persisted for over 2 years. We wish to express our solidarity with UNRWA and its whole team, and to offer condolences for the killing of 370 UNRWA staff since the start of the war, the highest staff death toll in the UN's history. Lebanon reiterates the centrality of UNRWA's role in safeguarding the rights of Palestinian refugees and emphasizes that there is no alternative to the agency. The international community must uphold its commitments and provide predictable and adequate resources to enable UNRWA to fulfill its mandate effectively. Excellencies, Lebanon underscores that UNRWA's continued presence remains absolutely indispensable, whether in the Palestinian territory, Lebanon, or other host countries, until a just, comprehensive, and lasting solution to the Palestinian refugee question is achieved. We further stress the rejection of any proposals or attempts to settle Palestinian refugees in host countries as a long-standing and principled position articulated in the preamble of our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have roughly 20 more minutes, so if everyone wants to take the floor, we have to keep it really short. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Malaysia.
Mr. Chairman, Malaysia commends its unwavering commitment and exceptional work carried out by UNRWA. UNRWA remains the lifeline of Palestine refugees in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, as well as in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Malaysia will continue to support the mandate of UNRWA in providing assistance and protection to Palestinian refugees. UN member states must uphold their responsibility to support the work of UNRWA and in ensuring the uninterrupted delivery of vital humanitarian aid in Gaza. Malaysia will continue to work together with partners such as Jordan and Egypt, as well as NGOs in this regard. Through the Humanitarian Trust Fund of People of Palestine and Malaysia have contributed 17 million worth of US dollars worth of financial and humanitarian aid to Palestinians since 2024. We will continue to support with funding, and I'm pleased to announce an additional 25 million US dollars in humanitarian aid and for the reconstruction of Gaza as a sign of our continuous commitment to support the Palestinians. We stand ready to cooperate with the UN and like-minded countries in collective efforts to improve the supply of humanitarian aid as well as towards the rebuilding and reconstruction of Gaza in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Portugal.
Chair, Portugal values highly UNRWA's unique and irreplaceable role in delivering vital humanitarian aid and in providing a wide array of social services on the ground. The protection and functioning of UNRWA must remain a priority for all of us, and we offer our condolences to all the members of staff that perished when they were serving the people of Palestine. In this context, we strongly condemn the targeting of UNRWA, and we have to say that we are among those who have always maintained committed and uninterrupted support to UNRWA, both politically and financially. In the past 2 years alone, Portugal's financial contributions to UNRWA have exceeded 16 million euros. And this will continue like it was in the last 2 years, because Portugal recognized Palestine as a proper state and naturally will strengthen its support to UNRWA.
I thank the Foreign Minister of Portugal, and now I give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan.
Yes, the issue of Palestine refugees is of vital importance to the peace and stability of the Middle East, and UNRWA plays an indispensable role in supporting the refugees. Japan has been supporting UNRWA for more than 70 years. Japan also encourages UNRWA's current effort to improve its governance. The current catastrophic situation in Gaza, including the outbreak of famine, is utterly unacceptable. Furthermore, humanitarian support must not be politicized, and the environment enabling humanitarian assistance must be ensured in a sustainable manner. Japan has been strongly urging Israel to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza immediately. In closing, with a close collaboration with the international community, Japan is determined to make utmost effort to support Palestine refugees through assisting UNRWA's activities. Thank you.
I give now the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia.
Thank you, co-chairs. I'm here to reiterate Indonesia's unwavering support for UNRWA, because its work is not only vital and irreplaceable for millions of Palestinians, but also inseparable from the multilateralism as stated by co-chair Ayman Safadi. And yet today, UNRWA faces unprecedented challenges, political pressure, financial shortfalls, and efforts to delegitimize or even dismantle the agency altogether. That's why the political support is not, sorry, yes, it is not optional but essential, particularly the renewal of its mandate. And Indonesia also wishes to highlight the Secretary-General's UN80 initiative, particularly Workstream 3 and the evolving structures of the UN Secretariat. It is important to ensure that this process does not diminish or alter UNRWA's mandate, especially its role in upholding the rights of Palestinian refugees. Moreover, since sustained and predictable funding is the lifeline of UNRWA's operations, Indonesia remains committed to contributing to UNRWA, both through our government and through other innovative channels. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of the Syrian Arab Republic. No, it's not him. Okay, so I'll give the floor to the European Union Commissioner for the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much, dear ministers. It is an honor to represent the European Union today here. What is happening in Gaza is breaking the hearts around the world. What I want to say is that we value the dedication and professionalism of everyone working for the benefit of the Palestinian people in a very challenging situation. Let me express our deepest and heartfelt condolences for the loss of more than 360 UNRWA personnel in the hostilities since October 2023. I want to underline the European Union's commitment to UNRWA. Last year and this year, we have disbursed more than 170 million euros to Palestine. Our support is going to food, salaries, and hospitals. As Egyptian minister rightly said, this recognition of about 160 countries must be translated into action. And this is why we urge all partners to disperse the pledged funds and to reconsider support which has been paused. At the same time, we welcomed the United Nations Secretary-General initiative for a strategic assessment on UNRWA, knowing that this agency is indispensable at this moment. To conclude, the European Union stands firmly with the Palestinians. We want to ensure that their essential needs are met. And final sentence, I hope that all of us share the same goal in the long term, and that is, let's do our utmost to strengthen and empower the Palestinian Authority, to make them capable at one moment in the future to take over some of the services of UNRWA. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the State Secretary of Germany.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, as we meet here today, the Gaza military offensive is going ahead with devastating consequences for civilian population and putting the lives of more than 450,000 children at risk. We cannot remain indifferent to this dramatic reality. It must drive us jointly to take responsibility. The suffering of the Israeli hostages who are still in Hamas captivity is also totally unbearable. They must be released immediately. Germany, dear colleagues, welcomes that UNRWA is taking a constructive approach to the recommendations made by the Colonna Commission, and we are ready to engage in the discussion with member countries and make UNRWA fit for the future as a key actor in efforts to support Palestinian refugees. And that is why Germany will provide an additional 79 million euros to UNRWA for the budget year 2025. 69 million euros comes from the budget of the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and 10 million euros from the budget of the Federal Foreign Office. We are those making a contribution to improve the living conditions of Palestinian refugees in the refugee camps in Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and in the occupied Palestinian territories. The key point for Germany is to ensure that UNRWA is in a position to continuously provide its life-saving services to Palestinian refugees. At the same time, We are convinced that it will take a ceasefire and negotiation process that involves both sides to bring peace and security to Israelis and Palestinians and lasting stability for the region. And I want to commend, Philippe, your leadership, and we mourn your lost colleagues. Thank you very much.
I ask the speakers to not speak for more than 1 minute, since we have to leave the room in about 1 hour. Now, less than one?
10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes, sorry. In 10 minutes.
1 hour would have been good for all. But
Yeah, no, 10 minutes, so to keep 1 minute. And now I give the floor to the Minister of State for International Development of the United Kingdom.
Thank you to UNRWA, Jordan, Spain and Brazil for bringing us together. I start by paying tribute to the UNRWA staff who've given their lives while doing their jobs. For 75 years, UNRWA has held a historic mandate for the protection of refugee rights, and today its staff continue to serve despite unimaginable challenges. We commend their courage and sacrifice. This week, the UK recognised the state of Palestine in the face of the deteriorating situation in the Middle East. We took this decision to revive hope for peace and for a two-state solution. UNRWA plays an indispensable role by delivering essential services to millions of Palestinian refugees across Gaza, the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon and Jordan. It anchors regional stability, it sustains the viability of a two-state solution, particularly under its unique right of return pillar, which remains a cornerstone of international commitment to refugee rights. As supporters of UNRWA, we must work together to protect this vital mandate, including by supporting necessary reforms to the agency. We welcome progress on implementing the recommendations of the Colonna report and urge UNRWA to continue this effort. UK support for UNRWA remains steadfast. I'm pleased to announce an additional $10 million to support UNRWA, bringing our total contribution to $37 million this financial year. We stand ready to work with partners to support and safeguard UNRWA, ensuring it can continue to play its vital role across the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the floor goes to the Minister of Climate, Environment and Energy of Ireland.
Thank you indeed, Chair, and thank you to Jordan, Spain and Brazil for hosting us today. And let me begin, please, by conveying our deepest condolences from Ireland to the families and colleagues of the more than 370 UNRWA employees who've been killed in Gaza. And this is a tragedy that no individual, no organisation, no family should have to bear. Humanitarian workers must be protected at all times to carry out their life-saving work. UNRWA is providing essential services in Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, in Jordan and Lebanon and Syria. And despite the untenable barriers which UNRWA faces, both political, financial and physical, and the unilateral moves by Israel to prevent it carrying out its functions, thousands of its staff continue to play a key role in the humanitarian response in Gaza. And this is a testament to the organisation, to its people, to its leadership. And despite the difficulties, your teams have continued to deliver essential services in the occupied Palestinian territories in unjustifiable conditions, and we thank you for that. Ireland is proud to be working with the UN high-level conference on the implementation of the two-state solution and to join the New York Declaration that 142 UN members have now endorsed, and indeed we co-chaired that initiative. Chairman, Ireland has provided UNRWA with €58 million of funding since 2023. It's more than tripling our pre-conflict annual funding. UNRWA is critical. It is crucial. We support you in the work that you do. We'll continue to do that. We all must work together as members here to support UNRWA in the vital work that they carry out and continue to call for an immediate ceasefire and for humanitarian assistance to be allowed unhindered into Gaza and into the occupied territories. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now the floor goes to the Minister of State for International Cooperation of Qatar.
Express our deep respect and appreciation for the Commissioner-General Lazzarini and all UNRWA staff for their courage and dedication under the most difficult circumstances. We also honor those who gave their lives while serving the Palestinian people. This year, Qatar Qatar Fund have added an additional commitment of $20 million for the 2025-2026. And we call all member states to give the agency full political and financial support. Finally, Qatar reaffirms its permanent support for the Palestinian cause based on international law and two-state solutions, leading to an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Turkey has the floor.
UNRWA is the witness and evidence of Nakba, and supporting UNRWA means rejection of everlasting Israeli policies of extermination of Palestinian people from the land of Palestine. Supporting UNRWA means rejection of genocide. Supporting UNRWA means political and ethical necessity. And supporting UNRWA means where do we stand during the times of genocide. In this regard, we as Turkey signed the host country agreement with UNRWA and Turkey to establish a representative office of UNRWA in Ankara. We will send 120,000 tons of flour to UNRWA, and we contributed $10 million to UNRWA for annually. We call all our friends to say no to Israel's propaganda and continue supporting UNRWA. Thank you.
I give now the floor to the Secretary of State for International Development of Canada.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Thank you to the hosts and co-chairs, Jordan, Spain, and Brazil. It's appalling that civilians, including UNRWA, 370 UNRWA staff and aid workers who continue to die because of military escalation in Gaza. And it's unconscionable that famine is now costing even more people their lives. Canada continues to call for an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages, as well as the unhindered UN-led humanitarian aid. This decision is consistent with our long-standing support for a two-state solution. On September 21st, Canada recognized the state of Palestine. Canada remains a strong advocate for UNRWA's work, with support of UNRWA of over $100 million for over 4 years, as well as $57 million in additional funding since the beginning of the crisis. We continue to oppose restrictions on the agency and on the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. We are working with our partners to plan and support the future of UNRWA. Canada will do its utmost to promote the rights of Palestinians to safety and dignity, as well as peace and stability in the region. We will continue to advise on completing the recommendations alongside other stakeholders so that UNRWA's important work may continue. UNRWA's delivery of services to Palestinians remains essential, and until such time they can be transferred to empowered institutions. There is simply no viable alternative. Thank you. Mercy.
Thank you. Dear friends, dear colleagues, I'm sorry we're being literally that we're going to be evicted from this room in 2 minutes because there's another General Assembly meeting taking place here. So just allow me on behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of UNRWA, to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support for UNRWA. Thank you for your contributions to UNRWA. And I do apologize for all our colleagues who could not speak, but if we could extend the time, we would have. But it is, you know, sometimes you can't argue with protocol. You know how it goes. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, and hope to see you next year in better times. Thank you.